Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as fingers drummed against the mahogany desk. The corner office overlooked downtown, its windows offering a panoramic view of glass towers and busy streets below. A figure in a charcoal gray suit sat behind the desk, staring at the computer screen without really seeing it. Rough quarter? The voice belonged to Robert, who leaned against the doorframe in his navy blue suit. His colleague looked up, revealing tired eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Could say that. The Morrison account fell through. Alistair, you've been working too hard. When's the last time you took a real break? Alistair ran a hand through his short brown hair and shrugged. His white dress shirt felt constricting despite being perfectly tailored. The red tie seemed to choke him. Can't remember. Maybe last Christmas? Robert shook his head. That's 9 months ago. Look, why don't you come out with us tonight? Just drinks, nothing crazy. I've got spreadsheets to review. The spreadsheets will survive one evening without you. After Robert left, Alistair stared at his reflection in the dark computer monitor. The face looking back seemed hollow, going through motions without purpose. Something had to change. That evening, Alistair found himself at an upscale bar downtown, nursing a whiskey, while Robert and other coworkers laughed at some story about a client meeting gone wrong. The amber liquid swirled in his glass as conversations washed over him. Excuse me, is this seat taken? A woman in an emerald green dress gestured to the empty bar stool beside him. Her auburn hair cascaded over her shoulders, and she wore a delicate gold necklace that caught the light. It's free. She settled onto the stool, ordering a martini from the bartender. You don't look like you're enjoying yourself much. Just thinking. About? Alistair paused, surprised by the question from a stranger. Whether I'm living the life I'm supposed to live. Heavy thoughts for a Friday night. I'm Victoria, by the way. Alistair. They talked for hours. Victoria worked as a therapist specializing in identity and self-discovery. She had an easy laugh and a way of asking questions that made Alistair consider things he'd buried deep. You know what I noticed? Victoria swirled her olive. You keep tugging at your collar, like the clothes don't fit right, even though they clearly do. Never really thought about it. Sometimes our discomfort goes deeper than fabric. Weeks passed. Alistair found himself meeting Victoria for coffee, then lunch, then long walks through the park. She never pushed, but created space for him to explore thoughts he'd kept locked away. I had a client once, Victoria mentioned during one of their walks, her burgundy coat bright against the gray sky. Successful lawyer, had everything society said he should want, but he felt like he was wearing a costume every day. What happened to him? She's much happier now. Took time and courage, but she found herself. That night, Alistair stood before his bathroom mirror in his black pajamas. He studied his face, trying to imagine something different. The thought both thrilled and terrified him. Months of conversations with Victoria led to deeper realizations. She recommended books, shared stories of other clients who'd undergone journeys of self-discovery, and most importantly, listened without judgment. I think, Alistair started one afternoon in her office, hands clasped tight. I think I might be transgender. The words hung in the air. Victoria's expression remained calm and supportive. How does it feel to say that out loud? Terrifying. And right. Like something clicking into place. Those feelings are completely valid. What would you like to do with this realization? The journey began slowly. Alistair started seeing a gender therapist, someone Victoria recommended. The sessions were difficult, excavating feelings buried since childhood. Memories surfaced of trying on his mother's blue dress when he was young, the shame that followed discovery, years of pushing down any feelings that didn't align with expectations. Have you thought about what name feels right? The therapist asked during one session. Dorothy. I've always loved that name. Try introducing yourself. I'm Dorothy. The therapist smiled. How did that feel? Like coming home. Private experimentation followed. Dorothy, still presenting as Alistair at work, began exploring feminine clothing in the safety of her apartment. The first purchase was a simple black dress from an online retailer. When it arrived, she held it up with shaking hands. The dress fit perfectly. Standing before her full-length mirror, Dorothy saw a glimpse of who she could be. Tears came, but they were tears of recognition, not sadness. Victoria remained a steadfast friend through the exploration. She took Dorothy shopping, helping her find clothes that felt right. A cream-colored blouse, a navy pencil skirt, brown leather flats, each piece carefully chosen. "You have great taste," Victoria observed as Dorothy emerged from the dressing room in a burgundy sweater dress. "I've been imagining this for so long, I know exactly what I want." The decision to begin hormone replacement therapy came after months of therapy and careful consideration. Dorothy sat in the endocrinologist's office, wearing her gray suit for what she knew would be one of the last times. "I want you to understand the permanent changes," Dr. Patterson explained, adjusting her white coat. "Estrogen will redistribute your body fat, leading to wider hips and breast development. Your skin will soften, body hair will thin, and muscle mass will decrease. These changes are not reversible." "I understand. I want this." "Your facial features will also soften over time. The fat redistribution will give you a more feminine appearance. Combined with voice training, most patients find they're consistently gendered correctly after about a year." Dorothy left with her first prescription, clutching the small paper bag like a lifeline. The changes came gradually. Dorothy continued presenting as Alistister at work while her body slowly transformed. She started voice training, working with a coach to find her natural feminine register. Mornings became a ritual of practicing scales and phrases. "The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain," she repeated, each time finding a pitch that felt more authentic. 3 months in, Dorothy noticed her skin had indeed softened. Her body hair grew slower and finer. Small buds of breast tissue formed, tender but welcome. She bought her first real bra, simple white cotton, and cried in the department store dressing room. "Ma'am, is everything okay in there?" the sales associate called. "Yes," Dorothy managed, her voice cracking. "Everything's perfect." 6 months brought more dramatic changes. Her hips had begun to widen, redistributing fat in a distinctly feminine pattern. Her face looked different in subtle but significant ways. Softer jawline, fuller cheeks, a gentleness that hadn't been there before. Dorothy built a new wardrobe slowly. The red lace bra she'd admired in a boutique window for weeks finally came home with her. Pencil skirts in black, gray, and navy lined her closet. Silk blouses in cream, white, and pale pink hung neatly. She developed a love for dresses, wrap dresses, sheath dresses, the occasional cocktail dress for future celebrations. "You're glowing," Victoria observed over lunch. Dorothy wore a teal blouse with a black skirt, her hair, now shoulder length, styled in soft waves. "I finally feel like myself." The workplace transition required careful planning. Dorothy met with HR, her manager, and key colleagues to explain her transition. The company proved supportive, updating systems and sending a carefully worded email to staff. "Effective Monday, Alistister Morrison will be known as Dorothy Morrison. Please update your records and respect her pronouns. Any questions can be directed to HR." That first Monday, Dorothy arrived early, wearing her favorite purple dress with a black blazer. Her hands shook as she badged into the building, but the security guard simply smiled. "Morning, Ms. Morrison." The accounting department buzzed with normal Monday energy. Some colleagues did double takes, but most simply adjusted. Dorothy settled into her desk, the same corner office but feeling entirely different. "Love the dress," commented Jennifer from Receivables, stopping by with coffee. "That color really suits you." "Thank you." Work continued. Spreadsheets still needed reviewing, accounts still required balancing, but Dorothy found herself more focused, more present. The constant background noise of dysphoria had finally quieted. A year into hormones, Dorothy scheduled the appointment she'd been considering. She sat in her doctor's office wearing a coral dress with matching heels, her documentation spread across the desk. "I want to legally change my name and gender marker." The process took months, but eventually Dorothy held her new driver's license. Dorothy Morrison, F. Such simple letters, but they meant everything. Her old men's suits went to charity. She kept nothing from that wardrobe, finding freedom in letting go. Her closet filled with clothes that felt right, professional attire for work, casual dresses for weekends, elegant pieces for special occasions. "You've built quite the collection," Victoria observed. helping Dorothy organize her jewelry box. Necklaces, earrings, bracelets, and rings sparkled in their compartments. "I'm making up for lost time." Dorothy's voice had found its natural range through training and practice. Combined with the hormonal changes, she spoke in a lilting alto that felt authentic. Phone conversations no longer triggered anxiety. Accounting, Dorothy speaking. "Hi, Dorothy, it's Patterson from the Denver office. Can you review those Q3 projections?" "Of course, I'll have them to you by end of day." Just another normal workday for the woman in accounting. New employees joined the company knowing only Dorothy. They saw a confident, professional woman who favored classic styles, pencil skirts with silk blouses, sheath dresses with blazers, always accessorized with elegant jewelry. Her signature look included pearl earrings and a delicate silver watch. "Dorothy's the best," she overheard an intern telling another. "She really knows her stuff." The comment made her smile. Recognition not for her transition, but for her competence. 2 years after that first hormone pill, Dorothy attended the company gala in a floor-length navy gown. Her chestnut hair was styled in an elegant updo, her makeup subtle but polished. She moved through the crowd with ease, discussing quarterly reports and market projections. "You look radiant," Robert said, approaching with 2 glasses of champagne. He'd been one of her strongest supporters through the transition. "I feel radiant." They clinked glasses. Around them, the party continued. Colleagues laughing, dancing, celebrating another successful year. Dorothy was simply one of them, a woman enjoying an evening out. Later, she stood on the balcony overlooking the city lights. The same view from her office, but everything had changed. The woman reflected in the glass doors bore no resemblance to who had sat behind that desk years ago. "There you are!" Victoria appeared beside her, wearing an emerald dress that recalled their first meeting. "I've been looking for you." "Just thinking." "About?" "How different everything is, how right it feels." Victoria smiled. "You found yourself." "With help." Dorothy squeezed her friend's hand. "Thank you for creating space for me to figure it out." "You did the hard work." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city sparkle below. Dorothy's burgundy dress rustled in the evening air, her jewelry catching the light from the party inside. "No regrets?" Victoria asked. "None. This is who I was always meant to be." The party music drifted through the doors. Dorothy smoothed her dress and turned back toward the celebration. Each step in her silver heels felt sure and certain. She was exactly where and who she belonged to be. Inside, colleagues waved her over to their table. Dorothy joined them, laughing at stories and sharing her own. Just another woman at the party, living her authentic life. The years that followed brought continued growth and joy. Dorothy advanced in her career, becoming senior accountant and then accounting manager. Her reputation was built on excellence and professionalism. New hires looked up to her as a mentor. "Dorothy really helped me understand the Peterson account," she heard one junior accountant tell another. "She's brilliant with complex calculations." Her wardrobe evolved but maintained its classic style. She favored jewel tones, sapphire blue dresses, emerald green blouses, deep purple skirts. Her jewelry collection grew, each piece chosen with care. The red lace bra had been joined by many others, a rainbow of delicate underthings that made her feel feminine from the inside out. Mornings began with careful ritual: shower, skincare, choosing an outfit that matched her mood and calendar. Today called for her gray pencil skirt with a rose-colored silk blouse, pearl necklace, matching earrings, her grandmother's ring on her right hand. "Morning, Dorothy," called out the barista at her regular coffee shop. "The usual, please, and one of those lemon scones." "Coming right up." Such ordinary interactions still sometimes made her pause with gratitude. The simple acknowledgement of who she was, reflected back by the world around her. Work remained fulfilling, but no longer consumed her entire identity. Dorothy developed hobbies she'd never allowed herself before: ballroom dancing, watercolor painting, a book club that met monthly. Each activity connected her to new communities where she was simply Dorothy. "You're getting good at the foxtrot," her dance instructor noted, watching Dorothy glide across the floor in her practice dress, black with subtle sparkle. "I've been practicing." "It shows. You move like you've been dancing all your life." In a way, she had been. just waiting for the right moment to take the floor. 5 years after transition, Dorothy mentored a new employee who reminded her of herself. The young person seemed uncomfortable, tugging at their collar, eyes distant during meetings. "Can I buy you coffee?" Dorothy offered after a particularly long day. "You seem like you could use someone to talk to." They sat in the same coffee shop where Dorothy had become a regular. She wore her favorite teal wrap dress. The color Victoria had said brought out her eyes. "I know this might be presumptuous," Dorothy began gently, "but I recognize something in you. The way you seem uncomfortable in your own skin. I used to feel that way." The young person's eyes widened. "You did?" "For years. It took me time to understand why, and more time to do something about it." What did you do?" Dorothy smiled, stirring her latte. "I became myself. It was the hardest and best thing I ever did." They talked for hours. Dorothy shared her story, careful not to push or assume. She gave the same gift Victoria had given her: space to explore, support without judgment. Months later, that employee came to her office. "I wanted you to know, I'm starting hormones next week, and I chose a name. Rebecca." "Rebecca, that's beautiful. Thank you for everything." Dorothy hugged her, remembering her own journey, the fear and excitement, the slow becoming. Now she could pay forward the support she'd received. The city changed around her, buildings rising and falling, but Dorothy remained constant in her truth. Her apartment filled with photographs documenting her life, work celebrations where she wore her favorite black cocktail dress, vacation photos in sundresses and wide-brimmed hats, casual weekends in jeans and flowing blouses. Each image showed the same thing: a woman living authentically. Sometimes Dorothy encountered people from her past before transition. Most handled it well, adjusting pronouns and names with varying degrees of grace. A few struggled, but Dorothy had learned to hold boundaries. "I go by Dorothy now," she would say firmly but kindly, "and I use she, her pronouns." Usually that was enough. The world had changed too, becoming more understanding if not always accepting. Her professional reputation continued to grow. Dorothy was invited to speak at conferences, sharing her expertise in forensic accounting. She stood at podiums in elegant suits, charcoal gray, midnight blue, deep plum, speaking with authority about financial crimes and investigation techniques. Our next speaker is Dorothy Morrison, Senior Manager at Hamilton & Associates. She's been instrumental in uncovering several major fraud cases. Applause filled the conference room. Dorothy approached the microphone, her cream-colored dress professional yet feminine, her voice clear and confident as she began her presentation. These moments still sometimes took her breath away, not just being seen as a woman, but being respected as a professional. The two identities integrated seamlessly. Romance had not been a priority during transition, but eventually, Dorothy found herself ready to explore that aspect of life. She met Thomas at a charity fundraiser, where she wore her burgundy evening gown with gold accessories. "Would you like to dance?" he asked, extending his hand. "I'd love to." Thomas was kind and patient, accepting Dorothy's history without question when she eventually shared it. He saw her simply as Dorothy, the woman who made him laugh, who could discuss everything from baseball statistics to Baroque art, who looked stunning in her purple sundress on their beach vacation. "I love you," he said one evening over dinner. Dorothy wore her favorite little black dress, the one that made her feel unstoppably confident. "I love you too." Simple words, but weighted with meaning for someone who had spent so long unable to love herself. Years flowed by like pages in a book. Dorothy's hair, still the same chestnut brown, now showed distinguished silver streaks that she wore proudly. Her wardrobe remained classically elegant: silk blouses, tailored skirts, dresses for every occasion. The red lace bra had long since worn out, replaced by new favorites, but she kept a piece of the lace in her jewelry box as a reminder. "You're retiring?" her colleague asked in disbelief. "But you're an institution here." Dorothy laughed, adjusting the purple scarf around her neck. 30 years is enough. Time for new adventures." Her retirement party filled the company's largest conference room. Dorothy wore a sapphire blue cocktail dress with the pearl necklace she'd bought to celebrate her first promotion as Dorothy. Colleagues past and present gathered to celebrate not just her professional accomplishments, but the person she'd become. "When I first met Dorothy," Robert said during his toast. "I knew she was special, but I had no idea how special. She's shown us all what it means to live with authenticity and grace." Glasses raised throughout the room. Dorothy felt tears threaten her carefully applied makeup, but didn't care. These were her people, her chosen family, who had seen her through the most profound transformation of her life. Victoria sat at a front table, her hair now silver, but her smile unchanged. She raised her glass with a knowing look, remembering that first meeting at the bar so many years ago. The party continued late into the evening. Dorothy danced, laughed, shared stories of accounts balanced and fraud uncovered. But more than professional achievements, she celebrated the personal victory of becoming herself. As the evening wound down, Dorothy stepped onto the balcony for air. The city sparkled below, unchanged and yet completely different from her view all those years ago. She smoothed her blue dress and smiled at her reflection in the glass doors. "No regrets?" Thomas asked, joining her with 2 glasses of champagne. "None at all." They clinked glasses and gazed at the lights below. Dorothy Morrison, retired accountant, devoted partner, mentor, friend, and most importantly, herself. The journey had been long and sometimes difficult, but it led to this moment of complete peace. "What's next?" Thomas asked. "Whatever I want," Dorothy replied, her voice still melodious after all these years. "For the first time in my life, I can truly say that." The party sounds drifted through the doors, laughter, music, celebration. Dorothy took Thomas's hand and led him back inside. There was still dancing to be done, stories to share, life to live. Her silver heels clicked on the floor as she moved through her friends and colleagues. Each face reflected back the woman she'd worked so hard to become. Dorothy Morrison, living proof that it's never too late to find yourself. The retirement gifts included a leather-bound photo album. That night, Dorothy sat in her living room, wearing comfortable pink pajamas, flipping through the pages. Professional headshots showed her evolution, the early days in simple blazers and nervous smiles, growing into confident poses in designer dresses and genuine joy. "Look how far you've come," Thomas said, sitting beside her. "Sometimes I can hardly believe it myself." But the evidence was there in every photograph, every memory, every small moment that built a life. Dorothy closed the album and set it on the coffee table next to her reading glasses and cup of tea. Tomorrow would bring new adventures. Travel plans filled her calendar. Paris in spring, Tokyo in fall. She'd wear her favorite sundresses and explore the world as the woman she'd always been inside. Tonight, though, Dorothy was content to sit in her living room, surrounded by the life she'd built. The apartment reflected her journey, feminine touches everywhere, from the rose-colored throw pillows to the collection of jewelry boxes on her dresser. This was her space, claimed and decorated according to her truth. "Happy?" Thomas asked. "Completely." Dorothy meant it. The scared person in the charcoal suit tugging at his collar was a distant memory, replaced by this confident woman in pink pajamas who knew exactly who she was. The transformation was complete, but the journey continued. She thought of Rebecca and the other young trans women she mentored. Their paths would be different, but no less valid. Dorothy had become not just herself, but a beacon for others finding their way. "I think I'll write a book," she announced suddenly. "About accounting? About becoming, about the courage to transform into who you really are." Thomas smiled. "I think that's a wonderful idea." Dorothy already saw it in her mind. Not a story of struggle, but of triumph. A roadmap for others who felt trapped in the wrong life. She'd wear her purple dress to the book signing, the one that made her feel powerful and authentic, but that was tomorrow's dream. Tonight, Dorothy Morrison sat in her truth, complete and whole. The woman in accounting had found her story, and it was beautiful. The morning sun streamed through her bedroom windows, catching the bottles of perfume on her vanity. Dorothy rose, ready for another day of living authentically. She chose a flowing emerald dress from her closet, paired with gold jewelry that caught the light. In the mirror, a confident woman looked back. Not perfect, but real. Not without struggle, but strengthened by it. Dorothy Morrison, exactly who she was meant to be. She stepped into the world with grace, her heels clicking a rhythm of certainty. Whatever came next, she would meet it as herself. The transformation was complete, the woman fully realized. and that was more than enough. It was everything. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.